Coming up, pilots flock to airports to view the eclipse. We have reports from across the nation.
How are we doing on general aviation safety? We have the definitive report.
And yet another good reason to fly to the Midwest in just a few weeks. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
Build and fly with the Sonex Aircraft B models. The B models offer more room and comfort, more fuel, more panel space, more engine choices, and the same great Sonex Aircraft flight characteristics. Learn more at sonexaircraft.com.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Redinger.
It was the event of the decade, and pilots had some of the best seats in the house.
Some 220 airports were in the path of the eclipse totality. So if you had an airplane, you could get to the best spots on Earth to experience night in the middle of the day.
Well, we have airplanes, so we spread out across the country to experience the eclipse with fellow aviators.
I'm David Toulis at Madras, Oregon, where several thousand aviation enthusiasts and some of NASA's greatest minds gathered at what they call the solar port.
We are at Madras Airport and we're about to watch the solar eclipse.
Candace Crandall flew down from Washington.
It was an amazing flight and we flew right by Mount Rainier.
NASA also had a flight above the Pacific Northwest.
We have a Gulfstream 3 that's going to start our real-time NASA TV show.
From the G3, NASA kicked off their coverage anchored in Madras. Other people used heavy iron to jet up from LA and the Bay Area the morning of. But most of the 500-plus aircraft were everyday people using GA to see something extraordinary.
It was awesome. It was beautiful.
David Toulis, AOPA Live.
I'm Mike Collins in Montrose, Colorado, where I joined some STEMI motor gliders to view Monday's eclipse in flight. The goal for this flight was Rifle, Colorado, about 60 nautical miles north, where the eclipse would reach 90% totality. A bit of a departure delay and a climb to 12,500 feet, though, and the motor gliders didn't quite make it all the way to Rifle.
I get starting now. Oh, the colors are cool.
Although we only made it to 90% totality, the eclipse was enough to kill the soaring lift for the middle part of the day. Mike Collins, AOPA Live.
I'm Warren Morningstar in Carpendale, Illinois, where the pilots flying in here at first worried a bit about the cumulus that we're building and were afraid that it was going to block out the sun. But we're just a few moments away from totality here, and everyone is going to get a spectacular view.
Some came in the night before and camped, but most arrived the morning of the eclipse. Big and small, a steady stream to the Southern Illinois airport. And the airport was ready for them. They started planning months ago and had to turn away pilots.
We surpassed 400 on the registration in just the past 3 weeks. And so we knew that we had to ramp up our expectations and our planning, and we did that.
They made it a free event. Free entrance, no parking or camping fees, no ramp fees, and free food.
Instead, we knew we would make a little money on merchandise and fuel sales. We were happy with that.
Happy eclipse watchers flew in from all over the Midwest.
Graysville, Indiana, 0 India 2.
Just outside Chicago, Dyer, Indiana, India Gulf, Quebec. I came from Rochester, Indiana. It came down, picked Jim up in Oxford, Ohio. Came down and picked up our friends in Bloomington, Indiana, and then got here about 9:30 local time.
Part owner of an SR-20 based out of Champaign, Illinois, and it turned out that there were 6 pilots and family members that wanted to come down, so we had to make one trip early this morning and then do a quick turnaround, go back to Champaign, and then all the rest of us came down, and now we're going to reverse the process on the way home.
They staked out their viewing areas. This was not exactly my choice. And then the moment they were all waiting for. The heavy iron bailed as fast as they arrived, but most of the piston flyers stayed around a bit to savor the event.
Hey, what do you think about being able to fly to something like this?
I think it's great, especially because I have 10 hours as a student pilot. I like that we flew down here, and I got off school, so why not, right?
And those in Chicago probably didn't get a chance to see what we saw here in Carbondale.
This was my first one, and it was kind of freaky. I couldn't stop staring at the solar corona and the planet Venus and the strange clouds on the horizon. It was certainly once in a lifetime thing. It was really fantastic.
Warren Morningstar, AOPA Live.
I'm Josh Cochran here at Triple Tree Aerodrome in South Carolina. Triple Tree is the perfect place for pilots who want to fly in and see the eclipse. And Triple Tree is welcoming these pilots with some good old Southern hospitality.
Turn right at Charlie, contact ground 123.9, welcome to Triple Tree.
Triple Tree started welcoming campers on Sunday. The privately owned airport has a pristine 7,000-foot grass runway and beautiful facilities, making it the ideal place to camp under the wing. Kirby Hornaday and Jeff Mueller flew in and camped under the wing of a yak.
We're getting married in less than 2 months, so crammed into a tent where it's hot and it's testing, but it's awesome.
Noah Watts, a member of the Golden Knights U.S. Army parachute team, was also camping. He flew a Cessna 206 from Fayetteville, North Carolina to camp with friends.
It's nice to see a bunch of people come together for whatever the reason. Everyone comes out and flies and just has a good time. Lots of fellowship, especially here at Triple Tree.
Dinner on Sunday night, a Triple Tree favorite. Steak night with a P-51 in the background and RC airplanes buzzing overhead. Monday morning brought a camping breakfast essential, bacon, and hundreds of arrivals into Triple Tree. Mike Price flew in for the day with his goddaughter, Zoe Greenhouse.
Seeing all my pilot friends who I know will be here today, and most importantly to see the expression on her face when the total solar eclipse happens today. That's going to be special for us.
Throughout the day, while they're waiting, onlookers were perfectly happy to relax under the wing, enjoying the community, and watching all kinds of airplanes arrive. As the eclipse began, excitement grew, and despite all the good food, people here must have been hungry.
Well, it looks like a banana.
And say a piece of cheese, actually a nice sharp cheddar.
Kind of looks like an orange slice that I bit out of, and now it's just smiling at me.
And as totality was reached,
It's amazing! Oh my gosh, like so crazy.
It's great, fantastic. What an experience. Never thought I'd see it.
Look at Eclipse. Gorgeous.
Great.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought?
Beautiful. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Oh, it's coming back.
Yep. Up there it comes.
What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Don't look up without the glasses, okay?
and just like that, it was over, and dozens of airplanes started heading home with the memories of this special time here at Triple Tree, a testament to the kinds of experiences that can only be had with general aviation.
This event has been truly just a significant benchmark for many people, me especially. Thank y'all for coming. It was just the highlight, really, of a lot of our lives.
Between the food and the people and the eclipse, of course, it's been a once-in-a-lifetime experience for a lot of the pilots here, thanks to all the work that Triple Tree has done. Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
How cool is that? What a great use of an airplane.
Awesome. I love that we've pretty much spanned the entire country.
Did. People going out and just flying, enjoying the airplanes, taking advantage of what it is that general aviation can do. That was neat. Really fun. And there's no question that the eclipse generated a lot, and we mean a lot, of aviation traffic. FlightAware says traffic was up 60% compared to the previous Tuesday. And this shows the tracks along the path of the eclipse. Of course, most of what you see here is IFR traffic, while VFR, Josh Cochran tells us it was a 4-hour wait to depart Triple Tree in South Carolina. Carbondale, Illinois had a 45-minute hold on VFR departures. But it was definitely good for business. In tiny Driggs, Idaho, population 1,700, they were pumping 20,000 gallons of Jet A day at the airport.
Bazillions of photons were captured in still and video cameras during the eclipse, and we think one of the most spectacular images was this one, captured by our own Chris Rose. Yes, that is an Eclipse jet against the eclipse. Dave Hirschman flew the platform airplane for this shoot, and he's here now to tell us how they did it. So, Dave, how did it come together?
Well, it was an idea that was spawned at Sun and Fun, and months before. But everything worked perfectly. We met in Southern Illinois with Eric White, the demonstration pilot for One Aviation, which has the Eclipse. I flew Tom Haynes' Bonanza, and we took the door off. Chris Rose rigged it with this powerful strobe system, and Eric White really had the tough job because we were circling at 6,000 feet for about 45 minutes, waiting for the light to be just right, and all the time he was getting pounded with this powerful strobe light, and was wearing his sunglasses even during the darkness.
What was it like? What was the light like as this was all unfolding and it was getting dark? And could you notice it much?
Yeah, you know, I kept asking myself whether we were really in the right spot, because 10 minutes before it was still pretty bright outside, but we were doing about one circle every 3 minutes, and you know, Chris and I were looking at each other saying, you know, are we really just 3 circles from darkness? Oh. And sure enough, in the next 10 minutes, it went dark. It was a really unusual picture because, you know, while we were in darkness, we were in shadow, but all around us it looked like sunset. It looked like a 360-degree panoramic sunset. And then very quickly the light rose. The dawn came from the northwest, and in 2 minutes it was over. But it was like flying through the world's shortest night.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming up with that really creative idea and making it happen. When we come back, is general aviation safety improving?
And yet another good reason to fly to the heartland. AOPA Live this week continues in a moment.
The smoke is on. He's giving everything that he's got. Oh, I'm on it! He's there!
The Red Bull Air Race World Championship returns to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, October 14th and 15th. Tickets now on sale.
Welcome back. Some 67 years ago, AOPA started the Air Safety Institute to make general aviation safer. They've been producing free programs and courses ever since that have had a positive effect on safety. And we know that because of one of their signature products, the annual NAL report, the most comprehensive look at GA safety available anywhere. So, how are we doing?
The good news is we saw a substantial reduction in the accident rate in 2013. And so this year's report, we were anxious to see, was that a statistical anomaly or were we going to sustain that? And in fact, we did. So we sustained another record low mishap rate in 2014. And so we can all take a lot of pride that all the efforts that we're taking for GA safety seem to be having a sustained impact.
Because it takes up to 2 years to finalize accident data, 2014 is the most recent year with complete information. And while the big picture is good, there are still problem areas.
The things that are frustrating to me and the things where we can really make an impact are that pilot-related mishaps still are roughly 80% of the causes of mishaps. And in the personal category of flying, there's still a relatively high percentage of mishaps compared to the flight activity, the percent of flight activity. So those two categories we really put in a push for this year. We held several calls with type club presidents and other organizations like the RAF and the Commemorative Air Force and the Warbirds of America. And we're all joining together in a call to action to go after these two categories to reduce pilot-related mishaps and reduce the personal flying category rate. Those are the areas where we can really make a difference.
Surprisingly, takeoff and climb accidents account for a significant number of fatalities.
As an instructor, that caused me to step back and think, am I reinforcing the right areas or emphasizing the right areas when I instruct in terms of stall awareness? That's where I think the type clubs come in, is to take this even deeper and figure out why are we having the stalls, you know, on takeoff. So the good news is that the number of stalls went down because the overall accident rate also went down. But the percentage of stalls in relation to the total accident rate is still roughly 20% of all accidents. So we're not seeing an improvement in the percentage. So clearly, I think we need to take a look at how are we instructing to stalls and teaching to stalls and stalls awareness. And I think the type clubs, and there are some great type clubs out there that have very specific content for that.
You can find the NAL report on the Air Safety Institute's website.
Safety awareness is important, and so is ADS-B awareness. We keep reminding you that you have to install ADS-B out by the end of 2019 to continue flying in areas where you need a transponder today. And the FAA wants to remind you that you can still apply for the $500 rebate when you install ADS-B out. But the ability to apply for the rebate expires on September 18th. Find the details on the website listed on your screen.
Our friends down under think we Yanks have a good idea. Basic Med. The number of general aviation pilots in Australia has fallen 34% in the past decade. So AOPA US joined with AOPA Australia in a letter to the Aussie authorities pointing out the success of basic med in the US and suggesting that medical certification reform could revitalize general aviation there. More than 15,000 U.S. pilots are now certificated under basic meds. And they have a lot of challenges in Australia from a pilot general aviation standpoint, and so this could make a big difference for them.
Yeah, you've done some flying there. They've had their struggles.
I have, and the thing is, general aviation could play such an important role there. It's such a big country and a continent, like the size of the 48 states with not a lot of road infrastructure, particularly in the middle, and that's a great place to use general aviation airplanes. But just the regulatory environment and some of the access issues they've had, privatized air traffic control, and a lot of other things have come together to make general aviation struggle there a lot. So anything we can do, including medical reform, to help them would be good for general aviation.
Absolutely, glad to hear it. The battle for Santa Monica Airport continues. AOPA has just filed a friend of the court brief challenging parts of the agreement with the FAA that allows the city to close the airport. AOPA wants to ensure that all the tools to force the airport to live up to its obligations remain in place. The Santa Monica agreement takes away some of the enforcement power.
And we're going to be in a battle against air traffic control privatization for the long haul. Congressional Quarterly quotes Missouri Representative Sam Graves predicting that the privatization bill won't be considered before the end of September. If you haven't already told your representative and senators about your opposition to privatization, do it now. The information you need is on our website.
And finally, the AOPA Fly-In to Norman, Oklahoma is fast approaching. In recent weeks, we've shown you things to do in Norman, but our friends at the Cessna Pilots Society have a great excuse to go flying around the heartland. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop joins us from Independence, Kansas. Paul, what's going on there?
They have a saying at Cessna that aviation means independence, and here in Independence, Kansas, you can come see it for yourself as the Cessna Pilot Society hosts a fly out from our AOPA Fly-In to Norman, Oklahoma. In this building, on this airport in the Great Plains are born.
This is a manufacturing facility where we produce all of the Cessna single-engine piston products. That would include the 172, the 182, the 206, and the TTX product lines. In addition, we also produce the Citation M2 business jet here.
And this is a special opportunity.
We don't give open tours like on a daily basis to the public, so it's a unique experience for someone to get the opportunity to come here and see the facility. What you're going to see here is a very high level of experience and expertise.
But if the start of Skyhawks, creation of caravans, and making of M2s doesn't put wind under your wings, you might want to check out the town. It's an old school, small town metropolis with lots of shops and mom and pop joints.
We've got a very charming little downtown with a lot of unique shops, anything from home items to custom little coffee shop that we have in town. But
there's also a great park and water park for the kids. It's a little slice of America served up Kansas style. So whether you come for the factory or for the shopping or to bring the kids, there's a lot to do here in Independence. We hope you'll join the Cessna Pilot Society as they host that fly out from our AOPA Fly-In to Norman. That's September 8th and 9th. In Independence, Kansas, Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
As always, you can find out more on our website. Head to the URL on your screen for everything Norman. We hope to see you there in a few short weeks. Looks like we're getting ready to really turn out at Norman.
Time's coming, so I hope to see you all out there September 8th and 9th. It's going to be a great show. And that's going to be a wrap for us this week. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time.
We hope to see you back here next Thursday for another edition of AOPA Live This Week.
There are many important things to consider before purchasing an aircraft. Let the experts at Aerospace Reports help guide you through the process. We combine expert knowledge with our long-standing commitment to personalized customer service to perfect your transaction. Learn more at aerospacereports.com.